I gotta say, I'm so tired of Ebola. Like, this is another one of those news stories that's just run away from the media, and that's like all they can talk about.
Right.
And I feel like it's constantly like, what are we gonna do about Ebola and the one patient who has it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he may have spread it to other people. He may.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like
Shut down all the airports, all the airplanes. You got to shut them all down because Ebola's coming. I'm like, oh my god.
I think it's a win-win for news because not only do they get to take the time or fill the time with reporting on the Ebola virus, they also get to fill the time with retracting whatever they just reported on. It's like he may have been, or the patient may have been throwing up outside their apartment. We now can confirm that that was bad information that was throwing up outside of his apartment. You know, it's just like, definitely a runaway story.
Yeah.
So what you think? No big deal then, Stronz? One guy got it and we're done, or what? Are you just tired of it for the sake of having to hear about it constantly?
A little bit of both. For me, hearing people talking about shutting down, all the flights from Africa or countries that have Ebola breakouts there, shutting all those flights down. To me, that's not really a solution because, so let's imagine you're in Africa, okay, doing some kind of work, maybe business work, maybe it's mission work, whatever. And you're there helping out people, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, all the flights back to the U.S. are shut down, and you can't get home. What are you going to do? I'm going to go to a different country, and I'm going to fly back from there.
Yeah.
And if we're not tracking those countries because they don't have Ebola outbreaks, that person's going to get in no problem. Unless we're screening everybody for Ebola, which other people have proposed, and that just, okay, then at what point are we just screening for every single thing you could possibly have, and how much longer is the TSA going to check you at the airport? Is it a pat-down, mouth swab, like the whole deal? You're getting a doctor's checkup when you go through the airport? Hey, free healthcare, right? Let's go do that. Go take a plane flight and get a doctor's checkup. To me, it's just like there's no – I'm certainly fine with like being cautious of those countries. People coming back from an area where they're like, oh, yeah, Ebola's prevalent there. Check them out. Okay, that's fine. But to shut down flights, to me, people are going to find ways around it. We were talking about the unintended consequences of the government stepping in and saying, no, we're shutting this down. People are going to find a way to get back here.
Well, it's totally true. I mean, when I first started hearing about them trying to shut down flights from Africa, very first thing I thought of was, we've suspended travel to like Iran, and then we hear, or Afghanistan. Okay, let's take Afghanistan. And then we hear about Americans in Afghanistan. And you're like, well, wait a minute, how'd that guy get there? Or we've shut down flights going into like the areas where ISIS is fighting. And we hear about Americans fighting with ISIS. Well, wait. How'd they get there if they suspended all the travel to those areas?
Magic carpet.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's like
That's racist.
Already enough. It's not even the same country.
Close enough.
Close enough.
But yeah, I mean, if you need to get home from a country in North Africa, you're probably going to get over to Italy or something somehow and then fly home from Italy. So I agree. I agree that it's not a solution. I think something does need to be done. I don't think that's it.
Well, I think part of it is nerve-wracking because there's like it's very difficult to stop the progression of the disease and things like that. But I think we're a little pre-hysteria. There's been one death, and we have some of the best capabilities and cleanest facilities for quarantine. So it's not going to be like Africa. You know what I mean? Like, it would be a tragedy if 10 people died, but it wouldn't be like Africa where 100,000 people could die because the facilities just aren't there to properly quarantine somebody. You know what I mean?
Hang on, Adam. We have to apply some proper, typical liberal logic. Okay?
Okay.
After every shooting, we hear, if we banned all the guns, if it saved just one life, it'd be worth it.
Oh, yeah. The means always justify the end kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we shut down all flights to everywhere in the world and seal our borders wouldn't be so bad. I was going to throw that out there with that, but and do other things which might be crazy.
Right.
If it saves one life. Okay.
But when you say seal the borders, because people misinterpret that to be like you want to shut America off from everything else.
Well, that's what we would have to do, but in this situation that I'm,
But
being
that-
very
that
cheeky
would be
about.
so bad.
But that would be so bad if we weren't letting anyone in or out. Yes, that would be so bad. That's not actually what I'm advocating.
You
So-
mean you're not for isolationism?
No, not in the typical sense. No.
We do better with
I-
diversity.
Yeah,
It helps us.
definitely.
The Ebola thing, though, it just surprises me how many people are like calling on Obama to shut down the flights. And I'm like,
Why?
I mean,
It's-
monitor it, and that's what they're doing. Like, obviously, but I just feel like it's a slow news cycle or something because it's all they want to talk about. And it's,
It's because none of the midterm elections have been all that fascinating. Like I actually just recently read an article that they're like, yeah, this is a very like slow news cycle for the elections. November is next month, and there's not a lot of big talk on the hot button issues. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
It's been very mild, and I think it's because nobody wants to admit that they're doing a crappy job. So the news is defaulting to, okay, we got to find something, and Ebola virus is the only thing they can find.
I think one of the big deals with, I think you're right. Like Ebola is scary. Okay, if there was an actual outbreak, which I mean, they're having outbreaks in Africa, but there's a lot of different definitions of outbreak. I think they're up to like several hundred patients.
But
And it's like, several hundred. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but when you consider their population at several million, well, all of a sudden that's
Right.
actually not
well,
that many.
I mean,
but
it's headlines. It's how do you build the headlines?
Right.
What are you going to write about? They're twisting it to make it seem like something it's not.
remember when everyone could not stop talking about anthrax? And now that I've said that, the NSA has dinged this podcast. But no, like who talks about anthrax anymore? Nobody.
Right.
Because it's not hip, it's not cool, it's not like Ebola. It's way more dangerous than anthrax. Like anthrax is so 2001.
Yeah.
anthrax doesn't make you bleed from your butt, Stronz, okay?
Which is a fear of mine, actually. I never want that to happen to me.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is why Ebola scares me. It's not really the I mean, it's apparently fairly easy to contain when you find out somebody has Ebola. That's what I'm reading anyway. I'm definitely no medical expert or anything like that. So that's not the part that scares me. The part that scares me is if I do get it, I could bleed from my butt. That's disgusting and terrible, and I don't want it to happen.
I love that we're focused on that when you can also bleed from your eyeballs, which is all
Yeah,
Indiana
not even
Jones.
close to as scary as bleeding from your butt.